Hello there and welcome back. Now, my Hellraiser 2 review was quite a while ago, but I did say I'd get round to reviewing Hellraiser 3, so that's what we're going to be looking at today, Hellraiser 3. Long time coming, just giving you my thoughts and opinions on the movie. But I say Hellraiser 2, when I reviewed that, seems absolutely completely and utterly ages ago now. It really does seem a long time. So Hell on Earth, as it's otherwise known, Hellraiser 3, made in 1992, directed by Anthony Hickox, I think his name. This to me was a film about a franchise that it was starting to wane a little bit here. If you remember my Hellraiser 2 review, I love Hellraiser, and I especially love Hellraiser 2. But I think Hellraiser 3, like with a lot of franchises, they didn't know what to do, they didn't know where to go, and I think it was starting to wane and run out of steam a little bit here. Clive Barker did executive produce this one, but I don't think he was actually involved until post-production, so that means basically after the film has all but completed, so after the film's even been made, it's like he didn't have much of a say in anything. So none of the original cast returned from Hellraiser 2 or 1, except of course for Pinhead himself, Doug Bradley, and Ashley Lawrence, who has a cameo here very, very briefly as Kirsty. I believe originally they wanted the film to focus on Claire Higgins' character Julia, but she declined to reprise her role. I think also in talks was the idea of having a movie that was set in ancient Egypt. I think that was even discussed at one point, which would have been quite awesome. I'd like to have seen that, their ideas with that. I think both of them ideas would have been better than what we actually got here with the finished product that is Hellraiser 3. To me personally, it's not as good as Hellraiser 1 or 2. The horror and the suspense and the dark gothic attitude seems to have all but gone out the window here. It was like a film, like the producer was just trying to make them, the film hip, up to date is the sort of thing I pick up from this movie. Though the film, it does start okay enough. It's the last half, especially the last thirds, that I have a bit of a problem with, but I think it doesn't really hold up as well, I think, as the other two movies. It doesn't exactly set my world alight. I don't even think Clive Barker was a fan of the director or even wanted him to direct it. I think in a nutshell, this is when Hellraiser sort of went commercial. I think this is when the franchise just went sort of sold out, if you will. This was when Hellraiser was marketed for the masses, I think, as well. At this point, if you are new to the franchise, you won't even necessarily sort of know what is going on. Even in the second film, the Hellraiser lore and mythology did stumble over itself a little bit, and it does a little bit here as well. Like the Hellraiser mythology and what happens in the lore does sometimes, even in the first two movies, it sometimes does trip over itself a little bit. Things do make sense sort of at face value, but when you go into it and really analyse the plot, motives and what is happening and the lore, what it does sort of falter a little bit, especially in this movie when compared to the first two movies. And I mean, I'm sure at the time it was cool, Hellraiser 3. I'm sure Hellraiser 3, when it first came out, I'm sure it was very much, this was 1992, same year as films like The Lawnmower Man and things like that, so I'm sure when it came out it's like, oh, new Hellraiser thing, but I just don't think the film has aged as well as the previous two. The whole thing it reeks of that early 90s culture, which is no bad thing, and the new Cenobites in this at the end of the movie I just found to be lame and gimmicky, so we will be getting into that today. And if you love this movie, fair play to you. If you're a fan of Hellraiser 3, I'm pleased for you, and I do enjoy the movie too. I'm just not as much of a fan of it as I am regarding Hellraiser, compared to Hellraiser 1 and 2. So the film starts with what I guess we can now call the Hellraiser theme. I guess we can call it that now. So we meet this guy, JP, who goes into this random art gallery at night. No idea what time it is. He likes to look at this creepy pillar, which Pinhead has been sealed in, apparently. Did that happen at the end of the last movie? Can't really remember that exactly, but Pinhead is in this pillar. This hobo who's in there is it's yours if you want it. When you look at this guy, there is no way you would think he works there, but JP's okay, right, you must own the place. And it's when you look at this guy, it looks like he's a bum, right? He's out of work, and he's well, it's yours if you want it. You just look at, he doesn't look like he works there. It looks like he's just walked in off the street. So he buys the pillar. Remember in the last movie we found out that Pinhead was once human, and what the film, they do build on that, the idea of the Pinhead being human. There's something that I when they revealed that in Hellraiser 2, they do take it a bit further with this film, so they do build on what they sort of started to establish in the previous movie. So we meet Joey, this struggling reporter, always struggling, aren't they? It's always a struggling reporter looking for that top story, looking for their first big scoop. So she's at this hospital reporting where nothing is happening, as it's quiet, it's like a dead night, there's nothing going on. So then this guy gets rushed in, chains coming out of him, screaming in agony. Obviously he's opened one of the boxes, though no idea how he opened it, how he got it. Bearing in mind, in the second movie they made a point that the puzzle box is like really cryptic. Here the notion is the box wants to be opened, so it sort of like again trips over itself a little bit there, because in the second movie they make a point like it's not easy to solve, but in this film they establish that the box wants to be opened. So then I don't know what it is. Is it doesn't want to be opened, or it does want to be opened? I don't know really what that is. Is it an easy box or a hard box to solve? I need to know. So they take him to this operating theatre. He gets pulled to pieces and explodes, and Joey witnesses it all. She questions the girl who came in with him and finds out they were at the Boiler Room Club. So Joey goes to check it out. Have like this hardcore metal bar when she walks through, and then when she gets like to the other side, there's like this classical sort of sophisticated room as well in like the same place. She meets JP, the owner, the guy who bought the pillar. Then we have like this weird dream sequence where Joey is in like a white dress, where this helicopter leaves her wounded like dad who's like a soldier. We have no idea who Joey is really. Yeah, she has a father issues and wants to be a reporter, but that is about all we learn from Joey, or what we get from Joey in this movie. That's really all we do pick up. So Terry, the girl who come in with the guy at the hospital, says to her, look, I will tell you what happens if I can stay at yours, right? She just needs a place to crash. So I love how she is there for like 5 seconds and Joey's already talking about her dad in Nam. She doesn't even know the girl that well. She's happily like opening up about her father that she lost, and a tragic event and things like this. Terry says she doesn't dream but she's always wanted to. Okay, so Terry has the puzzle box, obviously taken from the statue, because the puzzle box was in the statue, and Terry somehow, for whatever reasons, got her hands on the puzzle box, and she said this is what the chains come from. So seeing the hole in the statue, JP puts his hand inside, a rat bites him, and blood goes all over the statue, causing it sort of to come alive. I think that is like the Hellraiser law, right? Like as soon as blood touches something, it causes like stuff to happen or something like that, like with the mattress in the second movie. Like as soon as blood hits it. So Terry lights this new lovely housemate. She nearly burns the kitchen down whilst cooking breakfast, and we find out it was Terry who told JP about the statue and where to buy it, with like explains where it was at the beginning of the movie. So her and Joey break in to like where they find files. They break into this place where they find files on the Channard Institute, which connects it to the second film, which is quite cool. I like that they didn't ignore the second film completely. They do take it. As I say, the trouble is with this film, where we are introduced to whole new characters, it doesn't feel as personal. Like it would have been nice where Kirsty was in the first and second, if I know she is in this film very briefly, but it would have been nice if it would have made the film a much more seeming like a trilogy. Whereas this film almost feels like just a tagged on part at the end. It feels like it's sort of just like an added little bit, but not part of the whole connected of the trilogy. So see, that's point. Up to this point, it hasn't been bad, right? Up to this point in the movie, it hasn't been too bad. Like, I was on board at this point. I was like, okay, I like what you're doing. It's not awful. Not saying it's been great, but it's been okay. Like it's going along, hopefully building up to something, hopefully getting there. But then it just takes a complete U-turn as the film goes on. So JP is like bedding this blonde girl. They have a row after, and she gets her skin torn off by Pinhead, who's inside this statue, which doesn't look to be bad, and holds up quite well when the girl sort of gets sucked into the statue. Pinhead says to JP, let's work together and I can offer you wealth and power. The usual stuff. Whenever there's like an evil demon or I can give you wealth and power, work with me. So Joey gets a tape showing Kirsty explain that demons live in the box when she was being interviewed at this institute. I wonder if if she didn't want to. I mean, she didn't want to appear, or they didn't want her. As it would have been great if she had been a lead, like I say, if she had been a lead here with the film producers, whether like she didn't want to do it or they didn't want her in it, I don't know. It would have been great if she had been a lead to connect it, as I mentioned, to the first two films, rather than some random reporter who we have to get to know from the very beginning, and like we have to get on board now. We see Doug Bradley a lot more in this movie without makeup. She sees him as Elliot Spencer, saying that Kirsty is telling the truth. So Terry goes to solve the box, not even sure why she would consider this after what happened to the guy at the start. It's like she knew this guy, why would she even consider or contemplate trying to solve the box? And after she saw what's happened to him. JP rings Joey's place. How did he know Terry was there? I don't know. I mean, did she tell JP she was going there? I mean, I know Joey left her card there, but how did he know Terry was crashing there? He is trying to lure her in to feed her to the statue because Pinhead needs like flesh and blood and whatever. And she says no. After learning about Joey's promotion, she feels like she has been used and goes over to JP's anyway. So after an outfit change, I'm not sure where from, as we never see like Terry with any luggage or anything like that. But when she gets to JP, she's wearing a completely different outfit. So I'm not exactly sure what's happened there, because she turns up to Joey's and she's got like nothing with her, and then she gets to JP's and she's got like totally different outfit. So she goes to JP's. Joey gets an image from Elliot on TV saying, "You have to help me." JP tries to drag Terry to the pillar to give her to Pinhead, and she clocks him with like a knuckle duster out of nowhere. So after being tempted by Pinhead 2, she feeds JP to him, and let's just say he gets some sharp objects through his head. Let's just say that. See, me, I wouldn't fall for it. I would just say this guy's inside a plastic pillar. This thing they have Doug Bradley in looks more laughable than menacing. That's the problem. Like with Pinhead, where his head is just in this statue, it just looks like a guy just standing in a like this, something from the props department. It's what it looks like. When I said earlier, this film, it lacks the menace, and it does. It really does lacks that sort of like where it's eerie and creepy. Like I say, it's more laughable than anything. I was hoping they would have kept Joey and Terry as our two leads, but they do away with Terry altogether, even though I thought she was shaping up to be something big with the narrative. So the pillar opens and Pinhead emerges after just having like two bodies. Joey finds this old vintage wireless in her apartment that is not even plugged in, and she tunes it, and the voice tells her to go to the window where she meets Captain Elliot Spencer, right? And she goes through the other side where we're suddenly in the trenches. Like, is this, what is going on? Suddenly we're in like the trenches, and like, what is this, Hellraiser or Platoon I'm watching? I mean, what the hell is going on? Elliot Spencer basically just saying we have to stop him. I mean, why her, right? Why this reporter? I mean, why Joey? And we have the line, oh, this is where it gets really cringy as well. It gets so, oh God, like it goes, I dream of a war, one war is a dream, and all your wars, and your dreams of finding your father, like, that's it, a dream of, something like he says, a dream of one war is a dream of all wars, and your dreams of finding your father, let me find you, or something like that. And it's like, what does that even mean? Okay, so she's sort of in like this limbo zone, and one good line, like another good line they have like here, which is really great dialogue. She goes like, what can we do? It takes courage. I don't think I can. You just step through a window, he says. And then she goes, okay, what can I do? It's like, please, like, what is going on? I'm like, we're not watching Hellraiser here. I think Hellraiser 2 expanded on what the first film set up. This film seems completely, like I say, it's like it's tacked on. It really doesn't feel part of the Hellraiser sort of lore and sort of mythology of what's going on. So Pinhead starts butchering everyone in this club, right? Chains, etc. One guy gets killed by loads of CDs. I do like the shot at the end where it's like this blood coming out of the club. It's like it's all been sealed in and it's sort of under the door. And though this should be like a horrific, brutal scene, it seems more like something out of like Beetlejuice or something like that. Like these people are getting massacred, but it doesn't seem like sort of evil enough for whatever reason. It just seems like something out of like a Tim Burton dark fantasy. So learning of this event on TV, Joey goes to meet a cameraman there, and there's not a single person there. Was the TV plugged in at this point? I don't even know. Was it an image she got? I don't know. But she goes down there. Nobody's there. There's no reporters, nothing outside, nothing. There's no music playing, nothing. That nobody's clocked on outside that, what's going on. I assume the doors are locked. Who knows? Anyway, she gets there and like no survivors, right? She finds all these bodies and she has the box. This is probably like the most gruesome and bloody the film has been up to this point, when she steps inside the club with all these corpses like sort of mutilated and chained up around the place. And like I say, it's probably the most gory the film has been up to this point. So we've got these corpses mutilated, they're chained up, they're impaled, and we see a cameraman, Doc, holding his own head. So we as an audience have no idea what happened to Terry at this stage. We have no idea where she's gone, what's happened. So the street outside the boiler room is totally empty, nobody around, hardly any people or cars, and you'd think like a bomb hit it, right? This place is absolutely deserted, okay? Surely someone would have discovered the massacre sooner, right? With what's happened in the boiler room, people wanting to get in, or people walking by like, hang on, there's no music playing from that place when it's usually really loud. So she runs out after like meeting Pinhead. The whole street starts blowing up, which is quite a cool scene, and it looks cool enough. But again, I wasn't invested at this point. You know, I was totally sort of checked out. Then we have the most cartoony, whackable, like wacky Cenobites you've ever seen. Like, these are not threatening at all. These are like cartoonish, if anything at all. Like, these are really... We have Doc with like a bazooka camera, Cenobite disc guy, throws like CDs. I mean, the cops do finally show up, so that is something. We also have the fire breather Cenobite. Like, these two cops get doused in gasoline, right, at one point. And rather than run or get out of harm's way, they just stand there and go, shit, gasoline. They don't move. You know, whatever. So this goes on for about 10 minutes, right? Joey running down the street, then into a church, then into a construction site. And there was me thinking it, you know, it was only Hong Kong movies that did that. But this one does it as well. It always has to end on a construction site. So then we meet JP and Terry, Cenobites, after being outnumbered by them. All Joey opens, like she opens up the box to send them the way. Why didn't she just do that anyway? Right? Why didn't she, like, she can open the box really easy. And like I say, in Hellraiser 2, they make a point that the box is hard and cryptic to open. So why didn't she, like, if she opens the box to make them go away, why didn't she just do that anyway? So we have this whole scene of her meeting her father, like something out of Field of Dreams or something, but it's actually Pinhead who gets the box from her. So we're in her dreams again now. Right, okay, whatever. Elliot Spencer appears and just holds Pinhead's wrist, and they have like a stare down and start sort of moulding together. The box then transforms to a dagger for some reason. She stabs Pinhead, and it's like they had no idea what to do with this film at this point, or how to wrap it up. Like, they were really struggling, like, how do we do this? Well, let's have this happen, then that can happen, then this can happen. We'll have CD guy, then the box will turn into a... You'll think that is actually Terry's, like, Joey's dad, but it's not. And then the box will turn into a dagger and God knows what else. I say they have no idea what to... It just seems rushed. And the first 2/3 of the movie, as I mentioned, are okay. So back on the site, Joey buries the box, and we learn a building then gets made on top of this box, which has the same interior design as the box. And that is it. That is the end of the movie. I still think Hellraiser 2 is my favourite, but 3 just seems like a misstep or a step in the wrong direction for me. I love, like I keep mentioning, I love 1 and 2 very, very, very much. But this film seems like a complete misfire. It seems like a complete misstep. Not saying it's bad, but I think it really does. I think after the first hour, even 50 minutes, it completely runs out of steam. The build-up is okay, but then it just goes off and it doesn't really know what it wants to do. And it just feels gimmicky. The Terry character gets wasted as well, because we as an audience get to know Terry. We start to invest in her, and we don't even really get to fully know Joey at all. Pinhead himself is not even threatening in this movie either. So out of the 3, like the first 3 Hellraiser movies, looking at their first 3 as the trilogy, 3 is definitely, to me, the worst. I think 2 is probably my favourite. Sometimes 1, but I think 2 would probably be my favourite. But again, I love the first 2 movies very much, and it's a shame this movie unfortunately didn't live up to expectations. But I will, if there's need, or if people enjoy these reviews that I'm doing, if we'll try and get through the other Hellraisers. So many films to do. So I'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon.
Don't concentrate on the finger, or you will miss all that heavenly glory.